Hollywood has always captivated us with its glitz, its stars, and those unforgettable performances that lit up the silver screen. But behind the glamour and golden spotlights, many of its most legendary figures were fighting silent, painful battles, especially with alcohol. In this powerful look back, we dive into the lives of beloved actors whose struggles with drinking left lasting marks on their careers, their health, and ultimately, their legacies. These stories are more than cautionary tales. They're heartfelt reminders that even the brightest lights can flicker in the shadows. And in those moments, what truly matters isn't fame or applause, but empathy, understanding, and the human connection we all need. Robin Williams was more than just a comedian, he was a force of nature, a beacon of joy who lit up screens and hearts across the world. With a rare gift for both comedy and drama, he effortlessly shifted from the hilariously outrageous Mrs. Doubtfire to the inspiring English teacher in Dead Poets Society, to the emotionally profound therapist in his Oscar-winning role in Good Will Hunting. His warmth, wit, and boundless energy made him a beloved presence in countless homes, and his work continues to inspire generations. But behind the radiant smile and quicksilver humor was a man quietly wrestling with deep pain. As his career took flight in the 1970s and 80s, Robin battled addiction to alcohol and drugs, struggles he often masked with laughter. The tragic death of his friend and fellow comedian John Belushi in 1982 shook him to his core, prompting Robin to confront his demons. He achieved sobriety and remained clean for 2 decades, a testament to his resilience and willpower. However, in 2003, he experienced a painful relapse that opened the door to new personal and emotional battles. Later, he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, a rare and devastating neurological disorder that affects cognition, behavior, and mood. Even as the disease gradually dimmed his light, Robin faced it with quiet courage, shielding the world from the full weight of his suffering. At 63, Robin Williams took his final bow, leaving behind not just a body of unforgettable work, but a legacy of empathy, kindness, and vulnerability. His life reminds us that even those who bring the most joy to others may carry unseen burdens of their own. It's a powerful call for compassion, to look beyond the laughter, to truly see those around us, and to never assume that the strongest smiles aren't hiding the deepest wounds. Robert Downey Jr. is now hailed as one of Hollywood's most iconic and highest-paid stars, but his path to glory was anything but smooth. Behind the red carpets and blockbuster success lies a turbulent journey marked by deep personal battles and professional downfalls. For years, Downey wrestled with substance abuse, a struggle so intense it nearly cost him everything: his freedom, his reputation, and his future in the industry. His spiraling addiction led to multiple arrests, rehab stints, and the heartbreaking loss of major roles, including being written out of the hit TV series Ally McBeal. At one of his lowest points, Robert once admitted he felt like his life was completely out of control, a raw confession that exposed the heavy toll his demons had taken on his body, mind, and soul. But instead of letting those dark chapters define him, Robert chose to fight. With sheer determination and the unwavering support of close friends and family, he began the slow and painful climb back to sobriety and self-worth. It wasn't an overnight transformation. It was a battle. But Downey didn't just recover, he reinvented himself. His legendary comeback took flight when he stepped into the role of Tony Stark in Iron Man, a performance that didn't just resurrect his career, it redefined it. From Hollywood's cautionary tale to one of its most inspiring redemption stories, Robert Downey Jr. became the very symbol of resilience, talent, and triumph. Today, his story serves as a beacon of hope for anyone who's ever hit rock bottom. It's a reminder that no matter how far you fall, you can always rise again. That it's never too late to change your life, reclaim your purpose, and shine even brighter than before. Carrie Fisher will always be remembered as the fearless Princess Leia, a role that made her a pop culture icon, but her true legacy reached far beyond the galaxy, far, far away. Behind the scenes, Carrie's life was a raw, courageous journey of survival, vulnerability, and resilience. Thrust into the spotlight at a young age, she struggled to cope with the pressures of fame, turning to alcohol and drugs as a way to escape. Later, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, a condition that brought emotional turbulence, made even more challenging by her battle with addiction. But what made Carrie Fisher truly unforgettable wasn't just her talent, it was her unflinching honesty. Rather than hide her pain, she confronted it head-on. Through memoirs like Wishful Drinking, public speaking, and candid interviews, she peeled back the curtain on mental illness and substance abuse, shattering Hollywood's silence on topics many were too afraid to touch. Her boldness helped countless others feel seen, heard, and less alone. Despite numerous stints in treatment and a lifelong commitment to her recovery, Carrie's struggles didn't magically disappear. But her fight was never about weakness. It was about persistence. She showed us that healing isn't a straight path, and that even in darkness, there is courage in trying again. In December 2016, the world lost Carrie Fisher at age 60 after a sudden cardiac event. Later reports revealed traces of various substances in her system, a heartbreaking reminder of the quiet battles she never stopped fighting. Her passing left a void felt across generations of fans. More than just a movie star, Carrie Fisher was a truth-teller, a warrior, and a voice for the misunderstood. She turned her pain into purpose, and in doing so, became a beacon of empathy and strength. Her legacy is a powerful reminder that mental health and addiction are deeply human stories, and that with openness, compassion, and support, we can help rewrite the ending for others still struggling. Judy Garland, the eternal Dorothy of The Wizard of Oz, dazzled the world with a voice like no other and a presence that lit up the screen. But behind the Technicolor dream was a haunting reality. From the time she was a child, Judy was thrust into the relentless grip of Hollywood's studio system. To keep up with grueling schedules, she was fed a dangerous mix of stimulants to stay awake and sedatives to sleep, a toxic routine that would chain her to addiction for the rest of her life. What started as a push to meet impossible expectations slowly unraveled her emotional well-being. While audiences saw a sparkling star, off-screen Judy battled crippling anxiety, deep sadness, and overwhelming exhaustion. Her smile became a mask, her songs a shield. Addiction didn't just threaten her career, it stole her moments of peace, her sense of self, and the joy she so selflessly gave to others. Yet through it all, she never stopped performing. With grace, grit, and an unmatched gift, Judy continued to pour her soul into her music and roles, giving light to millions even as she walked through darkness. Her strength, often overlooked, was extraordinary. Tragically, in 1969, that brilliant light was extinguished. Judy died at just 47 years old, the victim of an accidental overdose. The world mourned a legend, but few understood the toll her fame had taken. Her story is more than Hollywood tragedy, it's a cautionary tale about the price of stardom, the pressures placed on young performers, and the urgent need for compassion and care behind the curtain. Today, we remember Judy not only for her timeless performances, but for the fierce resilience that carried her through a lifetime of struggle. Her legacy is a call to honor artists not just for what they give us, but for who they are and the support they so deeply deserve. Elizabeth Taylor wasn't just a screen legend, she was a force of nature. With her violet eyes and magnetic presence, she captivated the world, but it was her turbulent journey behind the scenes that truly defined her. Beneath the diamonds and designer gowns was a woman navigating a storm of love, loss, and survival. At the center of it all stood her legendary, fiery romance with Richard Burton, a love story as intoxicating as it was volatile. Their passion was undeniable, but so were the battles. Their relationship, fueled by deep affection and worsened by alcohol, often exploded in public view. One infamous night at London's Dorchester Hotel, tensions boiled over and Elizabeth, in a fit of drunken rage, hurled a glass of wine at Burton. It was more than a tabloid spectacle. It was a glimpse into the emotional chaos between two people who loved hard but hurt harder. As alcohol took a stronger hold, Elizabeth's inner world began to unravel. Though she remained poised and glamorous on camera, off-screen she was quietly falling apart. The struggles she faced in love and in life exposed a raw, human side of the woman the world saw as untouchable. But her story didn't end in despair. With time, Elizabeth found the strength to confront her demons. She entered rehab, spoke openly about her battles with addiction, and transformed her pain into purpose. Her voice became a powerful one in the fight against HIV/AIDS, long before it was fashionable to do so. She raised millions, broke stigmas, and stood as a beacon for those suffering in silence. Elizabeth Taylor's legacy isn't just built on iconic films or unforgettable red carpet moments. It's stitched together by vulnerability, resilience, and an unwavering heart. She showed us that even the most dazzling stars can fall, rise again, and use their light to guide others. Richard Burton was a man of thunderous talent, a voice like velvet thunder, a presence that could silence a room, and a gift for performance that few could rival. Hailed as one of the most extraordinary actors of his time, Burton was a master of both stage and screen. But behind that brilliance was a darker, more fragile truth. He was a man quietly battling a relentless demon, alcohol. Known as a functional alcoholic, Burton could drink heavily and still deliver performances that left audiences breathless. But while the world saw greatness, the cost was mounting behind the curtain. His health began to falter. His soul strained. His turbulent love affair with the equally iconic Elizabeth Taylor only intensified the emotional chaos. Their romance was fiery and intoxicating, just like the drinks he couldn't put down. Together, they became tabloid royalty, but behind the flashbulbs was a love story entangled in addiction, heartbreak, and emotional exhaustion. By the 1970s, the cracks began to show. Burton's once commanding voice began to fade. His eyes, once electric, dulled with fatigue. The wear and tear of years of excess was undeniable. Still, he pressed on, pouring his pain into every performance. In a moment of haunting honesty, he once said, "I've been drunk for years. I'm a happy alcoholic." Words that now echo with sorrow rather than wit. Burton died in 1984 at just 58, with liver failure cited as a likely cause. It was a tragic end to a life defined by genius, but also by struggle. And yet, despite the demons, he left behind a legacy of raw, unforgettable artistry. His story is more than just that of a brilliant actor. It's a powerful reminder that even the brightest stars can burn out too soon, and that behind every legend is a human being in need of grace, empathy, and healing. Mickey Rourke was once the golden boy of Hollywood, a brooding heartthrob with undeniable talent and a screen presence that couldn't be ignored. His rise to fame was fast and dazzling, but behind the spotlight was a man quietly unraveling. As quickly as he ascended, he began to spiral. Struggles with alcohol, emotional demons, and self-sabotage took a heavy toll. Relationships crumbled, run-ins with the law piled up, and soon, directors stopped calling. The man once destined for stardom became a cautionary tale. In a bold attempt to escape the chaos, Mickey traded film sets for boxing rings. But the ring offered no salvation, only bruises, broken bones, and a battered face that altered the very image that once made him famous. Hollywood moved on, and Mickey disappeared into the shadows. He would later admit that those years were marked by a deep self-hatred. His drinking wasn't about partying, it was about pain. But Mickey's story wasn't over. In 2008, he made a stunning comeback with The Wrestler, a raw, haunting role that mirrored his own fall from grace. The performance was more than acting. It was a confession. Audiences saw not just a character, but a man who had lived every wound he portrayed. The film earned him critical acclaim and rekindled a connection with fans who had once written him off. Though his battle with addiction still lingers, Mickey Rourke has chosen to fight. For sobriety, for peace, for purpose. His journey is far from perfect, but it's real. And in a world obsessed with perfection, that kind of honesty is rare. Today, Mickey Rourke stands not just as a survivor, but as a symbol of redemption. His story reminds us that even in the darkest chapters, there's still time to rewrite the ending. Anthony Hopkins isn't just a legendary actor, he's a symbol of resilience and quiet triumph. While the world knows him for his chilling brilliance in The Silence of the Lambs and countless masterful performances, few know the pain that haunted him behind the scenes. In his 20s and 30s, Hopkins wrestled with a private demon, alcohol. The nights were long, the despair was deep, and the bottle often felt like the only escape. He's spoken candidly about those dark years, moments when he was lost, drifting towards self-destruction, on the verge of losing everything: his health, his career, and his very will to live. But then came 1975, a year that would mark the turning point. Hopkins made a choice, not just to quit drinking, but to fight for his life. It was a quiet, personal revolution. Sobriety didn't come easy. It demanded discipline, courage, and a brutal honesty with himself. But slowly he began to rebuild. Clarity returned. The fog lifted. And with it came a deeper strength, one that would transform both his craft and his soul. Now well into his 80s, Sir Anthony Hopkins is not just surviving, he's thriving. His performances still shimmer with intensity, but they now carry a wisdom born of lived experience. His story offers more than inspiration, it's a lifeline. A reminder that no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how lost you feel, it's never too late to change course. His journey proves that with humility, perseverance, and belief in yourself, even the darkest past can give way to a brilliant future. Hopkins didn't just rewrite his career, he rewrote his life. And in doing so, he reminds us all, strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's found in the quiet decision to rise, one day at a time. Marlon Brando wasn't just an actor, he was a force of nature. Widely regarded as one of the most transformative talents in film history, Brando revolutionized acting with his raw emotion, quiet intensity, and method approach. From his smoldering performance in A Streetcar Named Desire to the unforgettable gravitas he brought to The Godfather, his presence changed cinema forever. But behind that mesmerizing screen presence was a man waging a silent war with himself. Brando's personal demons, particularly his battle with alcohol, often clashed with his professional brilliance. His on-set behavior could be unpredictable, even chaotic, leading to tensions with directors, rising costs, and production delays. One infamous case was Mutiny on the Bounty, 1962, where Brando's drinking and defiance reportedly sent the entire production spiraling into disarray, earning scorn from critics and crew alike. These struggles, while deeply human, stood in sharp contrast to his godlike talent. They remind us that even the brightest stars can be shadowed by private pain. Brando's life story is more than a tale of fame. It's a cautionary reflection on how unchecked inner battles can erode relationships, careers, and legacies. Yet, despite the turbulence, Brando's influence never waned. He remained an enigmatic icon, deeply admired, often misunderstood. His journey teaches us that genius and fragility often walk hand in hand. And perhaps the greatest strength of all lies in acknowledging one's vulnerabilities and having the courage to seek help. To remember Marlon Brando is to honor not just the legend he became, but the man he was, the brilliance, the brokenness, and the lessons he left behind. Errol Flynn, the dazzling icon of Hollywood's golden age, stole the screen with his swordplay, smirks, and larger-than-life charisma in classics like Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood. With a roguish grin and a heart full of mischief, he wasn't just acting the part of the adventure hero, he was the adventure. Flynn embodied danger and charm like no one before him, becoming the blueprint for every action star who followed. But behind that dashing facade was a man spiraling through a life of indulgence and inner turmoil. Off-screen, Flynn's appetite for excess was just as legendary as his on-screen bravado. He kicked off his mornings with champagne and chased the day with harder spirits. His lavish home on Mulholland Drive wasn't just a party pad, it was a symbol of wild abandon, earning the infamous nickname Cirrhosis by the Sea. The world laughed along with him, but the signs of trouble were there. On the set of They Died with Their Boots On, he literally did, falling off his horse, not from a stunt, but from staggering under the weight of his vices. Still, the headlines spun it as cheeky Flynn being Flynn. But it was no longer charming. It was a cry behind the curtain. He once quipped, "I like old whiskey and young women," a line that may have drawn grins then, but today echoes like a warning bell from a man burning the candle at both ends. The cost? Everything. In 1959, Errol Flynn died of a heart attack at just 50 years old. The autopsy told a sobering story, his body ravaged by years of heavy drinking and neglect. What remained was a legacy of brilliance, tarnished by pain. Flynn's life was a Hollywood epic, full of glamour, danger, and tragic downfall. A star whose shine never truly faded, but whose flame burned out too soon. His story isn't just a celebration of a legend, it's a cautionary tale about the price of living too fast, too hard, and too alone. Joan Crawford, the Oscar-winning legend behind Mildred Pierce and a symbol of old Hollywood glamour, was more than just a screen siren. With her fierce determination, razor-sharp cheekbones, and commanding presence, she embodied the very definition of success and sophistication. But beneath the glittering facade was a woman silently waging personal wars no camera ever captured. Behind closed doors, Crawford reportedly struggled with a deep-rooted dependence on alcohol, discreetly hiding bottles throughout her home. To the outside world, she remained the picture of poise and power. But those closest to her began to notice the cracks beneath the surface, cracks that would shatter wide open after her death. In 1978, a year after Crawford passed away at 73, her adopted daughter Christina published Mommy Dearest, a memoir that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The book detailed moments of emotional outbursts, alleged abuse, and a childhood marked by fear, particularly when Joan was under the influence. It revealed a household haunted by fame's pressure and a mother consumed by inner demons. While some questioned the truth behind Christina's account, Mommy Dearest ignited a national conversation about parenting, addiction, and the hidden pain behind picture-perfect lives. Crawford, who reportedly gave up drinking later in life and faded quietly from the public eye, left behind a legacy as complex as the woman herself. Today, Joan Crawford remains a cinematic icon, celebrated for her talent, grit, and unforgettable performances. But her story also serves as a sobering reminder that even the brightest stars can cast long shadows. Her life invites us to look deeper, to question what we don't see, and to approach stories of fame, family, and forgiveness with empathy and understanding. Peter O'Toole, the legendary actor whose performance in Lawrence of Arabia became the stuff of cinematic legend, was more than just a screen icon. He was a force of nature. With his piercing blue eyes, eloquent voice, and unmatched stage presence, O'Toole enchanted generations of audiences and earned his place among the greats. But behind the spotlight and applause was a man locked in a long, painful struggle with alcoholism, one that haunted both his body and memory. In a brutally honest moment, O'Toole once confessed, "I don't remember filming some of my movies," a chilling reminder of just how deep his addiction ran. Despite delivering mesmerizing performances, the cracks began to show. Friends and colleagues often described his off-screen life as reckless, passionate, and at times dangerously self-destructive. Eventually, his body could take no more. Years of heavy drinking had ravaged his stomach lining, and doctors issued a grim ultimatum: quit drinking or face death. In a moment of reckoning, O'Toole made a life-saving choice. He gave up alcohol and slowly rebuilt his life, rediscovering his love for the craft that had made him a legend. That decision didn't erase the past, but it gave him a second act, one filled with reflection, renewed creativity, and quiet strength. Peter O'Toole's story is more than one of fame and excess. It's a tale of resilience. He was a man who danced with demons, faced them head-on, and still managed to leave behind a towering legacy. In honoring him, we celebrate not just the unforgettable roles he brought to life, but the courage it took to confront his darkest moments and come out the other side. His life remains a powerful reminder of the fine line between genius and self-destruction, and the redemption that lies in choosing to fight for yourself. Oliver Reed wasn't just a movie star, he was a force of nature. The magnetic British actor, famous for his rugged charm and intense performances in films like Women in Love, The Three Musketeers, and Gladiator, brought the same wild energy to real life that he did to the big screen. But behind the larger-than-life persona was a man whose love for alcohol became both legendary and tragic. One of the most infamous stories about Reed tells of a wild night in Malta, where he reportedly drank over 100 pints of beer in a drinking contest with British Navy sailors. It sounds unbelievable, but with Reed, nothing ever seemed too extreme. While tales like these added to his myth, they also revealed a darker truth, a lifestyle that pushed his body to its limit. In 1999, while filming Gladiator in Malta, that limit was finally reached. Reed suffered a fatal heart attack in a pub just days after that drinking contest. He was only 61. His sudden death stunned the film world. With several of his scenes still unfinished, the Gladiator team turned to digital effects, one of the earliest uses of CGI to complete a performance, just to preserve his final role. Oliver Reed's legacy is one of raw talent, bold choices, and unforgettable characters. His life was thrilling, messy, and deeply human. Though his drinking became part of his public legend, it also played a part in his untimely end. In the end, Reed's story reminds us that even the most powerful spirits can be brought down by silent battles, and that taking care of our health is just as important as following our passion. Thanks for watching Exposed Hollywood. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold truths from behind the scenes. See you in the next video.